I bet you didn't know that 2 new detectives just this year have been assigned to a cold case that happened in 2008. February 2nd, 2008, Tinley Park, Illinois. An unidentified man posed as a delivery worker. The Lane Bryant store had just opened for the day. The man who posed himself as a delivery driver forced 6 women into the back room of the Lane Bryant. He tied all 6 of them up, then shot each one of them in the head execution style. 5 of these women passed instantly. There was one single survivor whose identity has never been given. It's mostly assumed that this was a robbery gone terribly wrong, but no one really knows exactly what happened, except for the one sole survivor. But in February of this year, 2022, 2 new detectives have been put on this case. All that they have is this composite sketch that was given to them by the one surviving victim. Yet still, the identity of this man remains unknown. It has been 14 years since this incident, and these 2 new detectives are working alongside of the one surviving victim. They have received over 7,000 different leads to this case, but still, they can't figure out who committed this crime. They're hoping that by reopening this case and bringing it back to the media, that someone out there that knows something will come forward and say they know who did this horrific crime. I bet you didn't know about baby Brianna. Brianna Lopez, born February 14th, 2002. This is one of the few pictures of Brianna that can be found where she isn't bruised. Her life was only 5.5 months long, and from the moment she was brought home from the hospital, she experienced nothing but pain and torture. Her mother, father, and uncle caused this child so much unnecessary pain. Her mother was aware of what was happening and did nothing to stop it, but she was far from innocent. Day in and day out, little Brianna was physically abused by her father, her uncle, and even her mother. The bruises found on baby Brianna's body showed various healing points, and it went to show that she had been abused her whole life long. For the short 5.5 months she lived, the night of her passing, her father and uncle decided to play a game with her, where they would take baby Brianna, throw her against the ceiling, and let her hit the floor. When she would cry, her mother would respond by pinching and biting her. The next morning, after this horrific game, Brianna's father volunteered to change her diaper, and when he did, he assaulted her. Who can assault a baby that is only 5.5 months old? That is sickening. After baby Brianna's death, they had a cage put around her gravesite to make it harder for people to get to her grave to mourn, leave flowers and balloons. That didn't stop people, but their message of how they felt about this innocent baby was clear. The mother was sentenced to 27 years, but only served 13 and got out for good behavior. The uncle was sentenced to 57 years, and the father to 63. The tragic death of baby Brianna sparked the Baby Brianna Bill, where if abuse of a child results in death under the age of 13, there is a mandatory no less than 30 years in prison served. Yet her mother still got out after only serving 13 years. I bet you didn't know about Michelle Kehoe. October 26, 2008, Littleton, Iowa. She drove her 2 sons out to a remote area in their minivan, where she slit the throat of 2-year-old Seth and then slit the throat of 7-year-old Sean. She bound their mouth, nose, and eyes with duct tape. After slitting their throats, she then slit her own throat when she realized she was not going to die from this wound. She staggered half a mile to the nearest home. She then spun an elaborate story that some stranger had attacked her and her children. Little did she know, back at the minivan, 7-year-old Sean had removed the duct tape from his face, hands, and eyes and locked himself inside as his baby brother laid on the ground. Michelle planned this murder terribly. She had no idea that her 7-year-old was still alive, and that when police arrived at the scene, they would ask him who did this to him, and he would say, "My mom." Michelle was immediately arrested. Of course, she tried to plead insanity, but evidence showed that she had been planning this for over a month, buying the duct tape and the hunting knife, telling a story that they would be visiting her mother in the nursing home while her husband was out of town. The jury found her guilty of murdering her 2-year-old and attempting to murder her 7-year-old. Despite this horrific event that happened at the hands of Michelle, her husband Gene said that he did not want his son to no longer have contact with his mother, but it was ruled by the court that she'd have 0 contact with her surviving son for at least 5 years after the attack. And after that, it would be up to his therapist if he would be allowed to have visitations with her again. I bet you didn't know about Shania Davis. November 10th, 2009. Fayetteville, North Carolina. Shania's mother, Antoinette, owed a man by the name of Mario McNeil $200. Mario said he would accept sex or money to pay off this debt. It was for illegal substances. So Antoinette had a horrible, horrible thought. She would let Mario take her 5-year-old daughter, Shania. When she tried to defend herself, she said he was only supposed to have sex with her, not hurt her. Shania was only 5 years old. The next morning, when she was discovered missing by Antoinette's sister that she lived with, her sister said she was very hesitant to contact authorities to report her missing. At first, Antoinette claimed she had no idea what happened to her. Then she falsely accused her boyfriend of taking her, which he was arrested for and later released. But the workers at the hotel that Mario took Shania, they noticed her from the Amber Alert and told authorities that Mario had walked in with Shania at first, but carried her out while they were leaving. Mario originally told authorities he didn't remember where he left Shania, just that it was in an area with green porta potties and where hunters field dressed their deer. The next day, Shania's body was found. They found her little body hidden in the woods under a log. Famous basketball player Shaquille O'Neal paid for her funeral. The artist J. Cole has even written a song about her. Autopsy reports showed that Mario had assaulted and then strangled Shania. May of 2013, Mario McNeil was convicted on all charges and sentenced to death. Shania's mother, Antoinette, was pregnant at the time of her arrest. Her child was put into foster care and was sentenced to at least 17.5 years in prison to 21 years. Shania's father feels immense guilt for this situation. Originally, Antoinette had nothing to do with her daughter, but Shania's father wanted them to have a relationship, so he allowed Shania to go spend time with her. He says all he ever wanted was for Antoinette to actually be a mother.